Good evening and welcome to this week's Sunday Night Live, the automotive show where we talk about all things automotive. Variable, fixed, you name it. If it has to do with the car business, we bring in the experts to share with us what they do and how they do it without giving away too many secrets. But so I'm really excited tonight. I have the professionals, some of them from Dealer Retention Services. These guys are personal friends of mine, so it is an honor to have them finally on the show. A lot of you guys might know them, some may not. So Tommy, Mike, Stan, if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourselves, say a little bit about who you are, how you got into the business, and then we'll jump right in.
Good evening, everyone. Paul, thank you for having us on your show. We're very excited to be here. I got into the car business around 28 years ago, and I got to tell you, it was the most exciting time to get in. The sales were unbelievable, money was unbelievable, breaking records were unbelievable. Got a lot of training, brought up the ranks the right way, learning how to handle used cars, being a used car director, going through Asbury Automotive Group, and having an opportunity to run my own stores. About 7 years ago, I had an opportunity to try something that I was working in my stores for Asbury, and it came out to be that it was fruitful. When I say fruitful is I was able to get out of the car business, and I've been doing this for 7 years. And then, within my 7 years, I started growing, developing talent, bringing in on new people. One was Stan Scher and Mike Pizzella. And I'd like to give them an opportunity to share with everybody who and what they are. Stan, why don't you go ahead?
So, as you all know, my name is Stan Scher. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Dealer Retention Services. I've been in the business slightly over 18 years. Started selling cars on showroom floor, moved into sales management, internet director, BDC level positions. Ran some pretty big stores as well. Was a GSM of a used car store for a year. Have my own training company for the last 10 years. Training BDC and sales, and joined Dealer Retention Services about half a year ago. And we've incorporated a lot of really good services, and just taking to the next level.
Awesome. Mike, what do you got?
I'm Mike Pizzella. I'm the regional sales manager with Dealer Retention Services. I've been in the car business almost 6 years now. Started out on the sales floor as a salesman. Worked my way up through a couple different dealerships, one of them being a two-dealer automotive group. I was the internet sales manager, and that's a big reason why I kept in touch with Tom, met Stan, and we just started up from there, and things are going great. Love working with the company. We all mesh well, and going to keep doing everything we can to improve.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. We got a couple of comments coming in. Michael Larkin, hello from West Hartford, Connecticut. My new friend, Ty Thompson. Good evening, gentlemen. Michael Landis says, hello, everyone. And Russ, the man, says, welcome all. And Gene Girdley. And Jeff Sunny Beach, aloha, everyone. And Ron Usher, my favorite master tech. All right, so let's get right into it. Running a dealership is an interesting animal. There's so many pieces. It's like a 3D puzzle that's continually moving. And there's so many pieces, and each part of it has its own little problems, which aren't always little problems. And you guys have the unique ability to affect a lot of different pieces in the puzzle. So one of the biggest problems that dealers have is just simply communicating with their customers, right? You get on the phone, you try to call them. Half the time they're in a meeting or they don't want to call anyway. Even my kids, I call them up. Half the time I get an answer back in text. It's just how people communicate. So you guys run BDCs for lots of stores. How do you get around some of the challenges that stores have in communicating with the customers?
Dan, you want to take that?
Yeah. So how do we get around with communicating with customers? So we developed a strategy. Basic strategy, of course, phone calls, emails, typical follow-up that a BDC would have, but we also incorporate text messaging. A lot of dealers don't do text messaging the way they should. We found that even in more recent times when we sign up a new dealership, we go through their CRM and We see a lot of missing pieces to their follow-up, or sometimes they get more opportunities than they can handle for how low staff they are. So we basically, not only do we have a huge team that works this, but everybody's trained to do texting, calling, as well as sending out emails. We also do email campaigns for dealers. We also run text message campaigns to dealers where we can hit as many as 5,000 to 10,000 people at a time, often generating a lot of responses, keeping us busy on the phone, handling the people that are following back up with us to those messages. So we actually have a really good engagement rate with customers in the store.
Hey,
How
Paul,
many people on your team making calls?
right now we're headed right at 20, but I can tell you the real secret sauce, and I don't mind saying it, it's the content. It's what you're saying over the phone. It's what you're saying by text. It's what's in your email, getting them to respond, to engage with you. You know, a lot of these customers, they're really sharp. They're smart. They know what they want. If we can gather all the information like we're supposed to for a dealership, so that the customer, all they got to do is come in, test drive, and sign the paperwork. It should be a seamless transition, and the synergy, the handoff should be there. And at the end of the day, CSI will be there. But like I said, more importantly, for us to gather the information that we need for a dealership to make the deal. I mean, there's plenty of times people want to work the deals right over the computer. They don't want to come in and start negotiating. They want to have the numbers set and ready to go. We're able to do that effectively, and we're able to do that very easily because of the engagement of the content that we're using.
Yeah. Now, hold on a second. All right. So, Stan, I don't know if you have a headset or not, but the audio is not very good. So I don't know if you have a headset.
I do, but it would take me about 2 minutes to get it.
If you could, that would be good.
No problem. Be right back.
And then, if you would, shut off your mic. If you're not talking, shut off your mic, because what happens is the platform does pick up a lot of background noise. All right. So Stan's working on the mic issue, and I think that should take care of the echo as well. So Dan Studham says good evening, and Jeff is the one that brought them to light here, the echo, and Gene just sent me a text message about that. So thank you, Gene. So working on that. So it's what you say and how you say it, and you have a good number of people on, you know, making the phone calls and doing the follow-up, which is key, because a lot of times what I see at the stores is there are not enough people responding to the leads, right? It isn't always the number of leads so much as it is not being able to respond to them properly. And that's where stuff falls through the cracks.
You know something, Paul? When we get an opportunity to take a look at somebody's CRM and see exactly where their shortcomings are, or we call, leaving breadcrumbs on the table,
yeah,
it gives us an opportunity to share with them how we can help them sell more cars without them having to put any more money to advertising. If you just did the same thing next month, but worked a little bit more effectively, you'll find you can always pick up 20, 30 more deals. And if a dealership's averaging $2,500 a copy, you could do the math.
Right.
Without them putting any more money to advertising, because at the end of the day, if you're going to keep putting money and doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results, and you're not going to be there.
Yeah, no, that's the big key these days, is everybody's trying to do more with less. So and a lot of stores have gotten really good with the process, but there's still a huge need for guys like you, because this is what you do day in and day out. And it's not second guessing a learning curve. You've been doing this a long, long time.
Well, you know what it is, Paul? A lot of people are finding that they have to reduce the people in the showroom that are working for them, their personnel. And we are a good solution for them, because at the end of the day, how many clients that I still know a GM is getting covert, a techs are getting covert, and then you got to shut down for 2 weeks. If you have less personnel, and we're just like, it's like having us right down the office from your office. We're right down the hall, except we're just in another building. At the end of the day, we're able to be your solution, so we can go ahead and keep you effectively getting the results you desire and maximizing your advertising dollars.
Now, hey, Stan, your mic is not muted, so it's picking up all the noise that you're doing.
Oh, excuse me.
Right. Another issue I see a lot of dealers struggle with is equity mining, right? A lot of people have signed up for equity mining tools that work if you work them, but
Bingo.
most of the time, I find people don't work them. So they sign up for a program, they spend $2,500, $3,500 on an equity mining program, and they don't use it. 6 months later, they call the company, they say they want to cancel it because it's not working. You do an audit of the logins, and you find out that they logged in on training day, maybe one other time after that for 20 minutes, and that was it. You know, these things don't work by themselves. And I find that as good as those programs are, most salespeople are not used to rejection, right? If you call 100 people and 85 of them in a row tell you no, you know, they're not even going to get to 85 people. They're going to make 4 phone calls. They're going to get 4 no's, and they're going to say the program sucks. It doesn't work. Now, you guys have a little different twist on the equity mining. Why don't you talk to us about how you do that?
What we do is when we're in your CRM, we pull the sweet spots. We try to steer towards like 3 years or more financing. Of course, your lease where it's 7 months or less. Those are always your sweetest spots to always resource and pull up. Listen, at the end of the day, if you work your database, it becomes an ATM machine. You know, one of the things that Stan's very good at is it might be the beginning of November, but he'll go back and get all the unanswered or the people that were interested by web, by sending in internet leads. When he does his text messaging, we can still fill. I mean, just about a week ago, we did a text blast for unanswered leads or leads that weren't answered for a dealership we just picked up. I think we booked 61 appointments and they sold 35 cars. Am I correct, Sam? Something like that? So at the end of the day, you know, all the stuff, all the money you're spending to have somebody contact you by leads, phone calls, whatever you're doing for advertisement, Facebook, we have an opportunity of getting into that database and actually giving them content for them to reach out to us to say, yes, we want an appointment. Yes, we want to be contacted. The service database, data mining, unbelievable. Service, fixed ops should be your number one source of gold mine, which, Paul, I know that's one of your biggest things that you're at. We sat down and talked about this plenty of times. And at the end of the day, that is an ATM machine. So you have, fixed ops, variable ops, a lot of opportunities. A lot of people do not know how to get in there and just pull out the juices from those databases.
That's key, because you figure the average store across the country sells 100 cars, right? That's on average. But yet they could service anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 cars a month, right? Depending on the size of the store. So there's huge opportunity. Half the people that go into the service drive, they didn't buy from that store, but they trust the store with their maintenance. So if you've already earned their trust and they're coming to you, even if they didn't buy the car from you, your service department can build a relationship with those customers and can convert them because you have their data.
Absolutely. Mike, what do you think? What are your thoughts, Mike, on how we data mine the service database to convert them into sales, or even let's say going back, if no one has been in the service department for a year?
Yeah, 100%. It's all about maintaining relationships with your previous customers, even customers that didn't buy from you. You just want to make sure your faces are familiar to them. One thing I used to want to have at my prior dealership was have a salesperson or a few salespeople even stay in the rotation and go over there and see, just to say hello. You're always showing people who you just sold the service drive. You make sure they're a familiar face when they either call you or when you go in for any kind of service. One good thing that we do with our company is realistically, like we've all said before, our motto is manage less and sell more. You know, this is what we do on a regular basis. We have all the tools in place for sales and service, for equity mining and data mining, and you just have to put in the work. This is something that we do every single day, day in, day out, 6 days a week. You know, you just have to be able to put the tools in place and put the tools to work, because if you're paying for something and you're not going to be, you know, you're not going to be using it all day like we are, you're going to be using it, you know, 20 minutes here, a couple times a day at most, at the best places I've seen. You know, I even used to do it because it wasn't, you know, you have, you know, at least in my past, you know, I was the internet manager. I have leads I have to get to. I have a report I have to print. I have to meet with the GM at some point. I have inbound phone calls going all over the dealership. And, you know, it's really just the best way we do it is we keep everything organized. We stay focused, sales, service, our team's great. And, you know, at the end of the day, we get the job done, and we've been getting a lot of great results and a lot of high praise from our clients.
We got a bunch of comments here I want to get caught up on. Our friend Kenneth Donner Jr. from Sugar Land, Texas. Hello. And Joe Brawler says, hello, everyone. Auto Transport Intel, my new buds, says, hi, Paul. And he's hooked up with Ty Thompson. Let's see here. Jeff Sunny Beach says, on weekends, we would park all used cars on the front line. And he said, oh, Jeff said there's a lot of echo issues, so he kind of bailed on us. Justin, welcome. Great to be here, everyone. Samantha Glover, welcome. This is Samantha's first time on the show. We just met on LinkedIn recently. And Russ Man says, database is the ATM machine. So true. Yeah, it's gold. These are all people that trust you, that you just have to reach out and call them. You have half of the people in there, you have their data. And what you don't have, it's very easy to get. It's a conversation, right? If you say a few of the right words to get them talking, to get them interested, then you'll get the information that you need. Terry Torline says, are F&I products discussed? Do you guys handle any F&I discussions, Tommy, or is that something that's referred? How do you handle that piece of it?
When a customer calls about an F&I problem?
No, F&I product. Like when you guys do you know, you make calls for sales to get people in, you make calls for service, you make equity mining calls. Do you do any F&I related calls?
Not at this time.
Okay. And Jeff Daniel says, on-demand used car appraisals. You never know who's looking to sell. Yeah, you know, and the great thing about that is that people, they'll sell you their car, but then they have to buy another car, right? You can buy a lot of cars successfully off the street, but they still need to buy another car in most cases. I remember fondly years ago, I was working in a Mazda store, and they tell you know, there's certain things that you do, there's certain scenarios that happen, so you might as well deal with it and get it out of the way. So the trade-in, somebody's touching the keyboard because I hear clicking. The trade-in is always the issue that they spring on you at the last minute. So I used to deal with that up front. I'll never forget, I had a guy and his son come in. They had a Mazda 323 that they were buying. I don't remember what they traded, but we got the trade out of the way. Everything was good. They were going to look at other cars, put them in my car to go drive and look at all the other cars. That's a great thing to do, because when they show up at the other lot and somebody else's car with a dealer plate, chances are the other store is not going to help them too well. So anyway, as we fast forward, they ended up buying the car, trading one in. And then I got a call back a few hours later. The guy was a little embarrassed, and he was asking if we still had his trade, because they hadn't intended on trading in their car. They had come in to buy a car for the son, not trade a car in. So Jeff's story reminded me about, you know, you never know who's looking to sell their car. Sometimes they don't even know they're looking to sell the car, was where I was going with that. And then Gene Girdley says, do you set up a custom program to scrape the appropriate data? How do you know who to go after?
So let me get on that, because that's actually one of my specialties. So what's interesting is whenever we run a text message campaign, whenever we do any sort of follow-up, the big thing for us is we like to keep a clean CRM. That's something that I brought to the table because it's a huge thing. Anytime I would run an internet department or a BDC, a messy CRM just drove me crazy. So what would happen is whenever we run a campaign, we get people telling us, oh, I'm no longer in the market. I bought a car somewhere else. Or, oh, you got the wrong number. This is not me. We right away go into the CRM. We mark them lost or whatever the situation is. We put the appropriate notes in. And generally speaking, by the end of the month, a dealership that has less manager CRM for them essentially has the most proper, cleanest reporting that they've seen in a long time. And they have a better database that way. So I think that would be the answer to the question.
Yeah, the problem with the CRM is garbage in, garbage out.
Yes.
And there are lots of duplicate name files in the CRM. So not only does that waste time on calls, but it also wastes money on marketing because you end up sending 3-4 pieces of mail to the same person at the same address under different names.
You're 100% correct, Paul. Just to let you know, every one of my specialists, whenever they're working somebody's database and there's multiple profiles, we instantaneously merge them. So there's not a mistake of us putting in something and then somebody else going in behind us, putting it under another profile. That's one thing Stan brought to the table is all the specialists know exactly what to do to minimize mistakes and maximize results.
Yeah, you reach more people that way.
Yep.
Now, you guys have been doing this for a long time, and one common denominator we see at stores is that a sales job seems to be a fairly easy job to get, right? It's like, okay, you're hired. Stop me if I'm lying.
No, you're right.
Nope.
You're right.
So now they come in, and the training consists of, hey, shadow that guy or that gal for a few days, and then you're good to go. There's your computer, here's your login. I think attracting or recruiting the right people should be the first place to start. And then once you've recruited the right people, now it's a question of training those people on the processes that you need in order to get the job done. So now you guys do recruiting as well?
We do recruiting, we do training, placing, absolutely. Stan hands that department for us, and it seems to be what we're doing is we're offering people careers, not a job. And if we have them at the beginning, set that stage for them, lay out the road work for them, you get more people that are more successful. And at the end of the day, it's less headaches for a desk manager, for a GM, turnovers less. Even some of the people that I've hired, I've actually trained in the car business years ago. And then they called me up and said, Tommy, do you mind? I hear you're doing some big things. Do you mind if I come see what you're doing? They like the operation. Guess what? They want a job. But the reality is, you train them, you give them a career, they'll never leave. You gotta hit that home with them in the beginning. This is not a job. If you're looking for a job, keep stepping. If you want a career, you're in the right place.
Now, where do you find a lot of people? Where do you find a lot of the people that you place?
Stan, you want to answer that?
So I usually run ads on social media. Indeed is a big one. And what's interesting is I want to add a little bit to what we're talking about. I studied recruiting, not just from the automotive side, but I've actually done a lot of research and I've read a lot of books on recruiting in the corporate world. Obviously, in the automotive industry, it's different. It's like you said, if you have a pulse, you have the job, right? So I studied the recruiting aspect of it to the point that I like to screen people, even for when we hire for dealer retention services. We get a resume, I call the person, I spend 5-10 minutes on the phone with them, and I will have a normal conversation because the number one thing that I look for when I'm hiring somebody for a sales-related job is communication skills, customer service skills, communication skills. And so I want to know how well you speak on the phone. How's your tone inflection? How's your personality? Can you build a rapport with me real quick? Obviously, I also want to see how well you can write an email, because if I'm going to place somebody in a internet role, so to speak, or a BDC role, I'd like to know that they can type appropriately. And then, of course, we have like it's a 10-step screener that I use in an Excel format. And based off of that conversation that I have, I will create my point of view and I will send that to the dealer and say, you should interview this person, set up the appointment, they'll interview them. And if they want to hire them, they hire them. And essentially, if it's somebody that doesn't seem like they fit the bill, I certainly don't send them because I don't want to waste the dealership's time. I think that's just an extra layer of like protection, so to speak, to avoid them from wasting their time with the wrong candidates.
Right. Now, another thing too is, so somebody gets trained and they come in, you can have all the processes in the world, but unless you hold somebody accountable, it doesn't really matter, right? Because if they don't feel they need to be doing the job, because nobody's going to be looking over their shoulder. So how do you keep the stores accountable to follow up on the things they need to manage?
One of the things that we do is once we train a store or a group of talented people, let's say 6 to 10 people, we go back and we have a follow-up training within 3 to 4 weeks to see where they are, how they're making out. You know, what have you stopped using that we taught you? You know, what can we revisit? Give me some hero stories. Give me some zero stories. You know, where do you feel you're falling short? Before we actually end our training, we make sure they're able to bring a deal to the desk, that a deal is ready to be penciled. From then, after you train to be a product specialist and you're sharing with them what the wants and needs are from a desk manager, you'll be surprised at how many desk managers now want to work with this person because they're bringing everything that they need, all the ingredients to bake the cake, than the last person that hasn't been trained. So at the end of the day, they are getting more attention. They're being more successful because if you're setting them to do a career and they're drinking the Kool-Aid, they want to learn. If they want to learn and they're learning well, they're bringing a complete deal to the desk. And if they need help, they're going to ask for help and they're doing it the right way. You know, you don't have desk managers, which are the key to the success for a salesperson, getting upset, you know, get away from me. They didn't drive the car. Why didn't you drive it? It's your job. It's this job. They want to help the person because they know the gentleman or woman did his job. If I have a salesperson that did their job, makes life easier. I used to tell all the salespeople when I ran stores, if you've been with somebody for a long time and I go in there and I close the deal in 15 minutes or 10 minutes, that means 45 minutes to an hour to close the deal. That means I had to resell the car. Based upon my experiences is what we're teaching people so they don't have to run over the same speed bumps I did when I sold cars. Make sense?
The absolute best way to do it. The desk manager is important, but what's more important, just as you state, is have them trained so that you don't really need the desk manager other than to sign the deal, sign off on the deal, because the running back and forth is what kills growth and that's what kills deals, right? And even, you know, with the accountability piece of it, how many times you go into a store and you have experienced salespeople that they haven't test driven the car, they bring a deal up, there's no copy of the registration, there's no copy of the title, there's no copy of the driver's license, and then at delivery, there's no copy of the insurance card. I mean, this is the type of stuff that happens. So it's crucial that they learn the steps and that somebody actually keeps them accountable for it. Now, we got a couple of comments coming in here. See, we have Michael Larkin says, you don't make money managing, you make money marketing. Gene Girdley says, thanks. Ty says, are you mining year, make, and model used car inventory? Are you looking for specific year, make, and models? And how are you getting to that?
You know, if the dealership runs a 90-day database of what their top items that they're selling, yes, we do that. A lot of stores really don't even know to do that, but the sharp operators, they'll tell us, hey, we're looking for certain vehicles. This is this is what we sell a lot of. You know, in the last 90 days, we've been able to sell X amount of these. 60 days, we sell X amount of these. Those are our sweet cars. You know, a lot of people don't want to go to the auction right now because the auction prices are through the roof. So they will ask us to see, you know, who they have in the database that we can go ahead and purge. Absolutely.
Now, when you go into a store, do a lot of them already have a BDC set up, or is this something they're toying with for the first time?
they all have BDC people, whether it's 1 to 2, 3 people, 4 to 5 people. What they're asking us to do is, here's my CRM. Tell me where our shortcomings are, and then give me solutions when you come to have my meeting with me. So when I go there, we'll explain to them, hey, listen, do you still want to have BDC? A lot of people still want BDC personnel because it's like a security blanket for them. It's somebody that they feel they can still go to, and that's all right. Because at the end of the day, I want engagement. I need people that are all on drinking the Kool-Aid. They're all in the same boat. So what we'll do is we'll tell the dealership, hey, forward all your calls from your website, from your auto alerts and everything that you have going on. Send it to my call center. We'll book the appointments. We'll track follow-up. We'll put the notes in. We'll gather the information. We'll make the appointments for you. And, you know, at the end of the day, if your team wants to handle web leads, you'll handle the web leads. And then we'll go behind them and make sure that they're getting answered. You know, it's really how much the dealership wants to give us at the end of the day. And what we're finding is they give us a little bit. Next month, they want to give us more. Next month, they want to give us more. Now we're at the point with some dealership, they want us to handle the CSI, do all the follow-up for service and sales. It's not part of our package, but it's part of the relationship.
Well, the more you do for them, the more they want you to do for them.
This is so much true.
You know, as long as you're getting the results for them, I mean, why not? I ran my service centers. We were doing, you know, we may have started with this many items, but by the time I left there, we had this many items because these are all the things that we added on that customers wanted us to do for them. It wasn't even on our list of things to do, but that's kind of how the business grew. Now,
It sounds like it's called evolving to what they want.
Yes, and sometimes they don't know what they want. You know, it's a process that they grow into. Now, talk to me on March 15th, March 16th, the world came to an end. What did you see on your end as far as dealers and, you know, were they cutting back and doing in-house BDC, trying that, and did some of that come back, or how did that roll out?
It was 100% shut down. We had to shut down until dealers started opening up. Of course, being in New Jersey, you know, New York was still closed for many, many months still after that. But it was like starting over again. And at the end of the day, we haven't missed the trick. In fact, we picked up a lot of business because a lot of people are looking for solutions to where they need to reduce their staff. And, you know, how do you reduce BDC? I mean, you got to have presence. You know, they should be selling 45% of your car deals. And they're now looking for alternative solutions. And if you have a good product and you are the product like we are, you're going to get the phone calls. You're going to get the people, you know, saying, hey, we're interested. Hey, what can you do? Hey, I was interested, you know, I was told about your services, you know, can you share with me how you can help me? I'm not surprised, but at the end of the day, this is the perfect storm for a company like ours. And that's why I was able to bring on some of these other managers that we have, and, you know, and we're opening up our second office, you know, God willing.
Well, what's interesting is that one thing has not changed over decades. Salespeople don't like to make phone calls. A lot of them just don't like to make phone calls. I could walk in, all the stores I've walked into over many, many years, it's rare to find somebody making a phone call. So if I need to cut back on staff, human capital is one of the most expensive, you know, costs in a dealership, then outsourcing a BDC seems like a very good way to go, because you can get the coverage without having the exposure, without having the costs that you would have, you know?
Yeah, an average person that's going to handle your BDC is going to run you around 45,000 a year without benefits.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you'll find that we're we're priced extremely well for what we're doing, and we're a lot less expensive than some of the other companies that are out there.
Now, are you traditional hours on that, or do you run extended hours? How does that piece of it work?
We start at 7:30 and we close at 8. We're 6
8
days
to
a
9.
week.
Okay. So Monday through Saturday.
Correct. A lot of stores have tailored back their hours, but service is always going to be going early and sales is always going to be going late. So we have to accommodate our clients.
Yeah, that way you cover both. And are a lot of stores open on Sunday these days?
The New York stores are. That's about it.
But I guess the bulk of their business is Monday through Saturday, I would imagine, for as far as what you do.
Let me bring that back a second. Most of the New York stores are closed on Sunday, but they have the ability to be open. The ownerships are letting them be closed on Sunday.
Is that since COVID?
100%. They're finding that with less hours and less people, they're making more money. They found a way to expense themselves to a profit.
And now, you know, the inventory is kind of a double-edged sword, right? It's hard to come by. The used car inventory you've got to pay up for, but the stuff is selling, and they're making gross on it.
A lot of stores for a long time now have been making a lot of gross, and they're starting to feel the slack now. And at the end of the day, they need to go back and pick up all those breadcrumbs we talked about earlier in the beginning of the show that were left on the table because they had so much work, so much business. They need to go back and get them and bring them back in, and that's where we really hone in and be able to maximize for that dealership.
How long do you guys stay with somebody? How long do you follow up on a lead? So let's say, and what I mean by that is, you know, they're standard follow-ups. Most people, they make a few phone calls and that's it. You have obviously a handful of people that work their CRM diligently that will follow them until they die or there's a restraining order. But for the most part, you know, they don't follow up, which is what makes your system valuable. How long do you follow up with those people?
Our process is, if we are engaged and we're communicating back and forth, that's gravy. That's the way we want it to be. That's utopia. But at any given time when we start losing communication, within 7 to 10 days of the last contact, and I don't mean an email or a text as a contact, I mean contacting on the phone. To me, that's a contact.
A conversation.
Conversation. We'll take it for 7 to 10 days between our specialists. After the 7 to 10 days between email and texting and calling, if we're getting 0 results, then now it goes to the higher level of management and they're instructed to do the same. If they get an engagement between their follow-up, then it starts back over to ground one again. If they're not having any opportunities to speak to somebody, then of course they will put them on a 30-day follow-up. Did that answer your question?
Yes. How receptive are people on the phone to a conversation?
Mike?
Absolutely. I mean, by far the best way to communicate with the customers over the phone, because you can't read a voice over text or email. You know, basically how we do it, we love to shoot out the first email, especially if it's a web lead, obviously. You know, while you're clicking send on that email, the phone better be ringing, because the leads are going to all kinds of dealerships, not just yourself, in most cases now. So realistically, that's it. You know, you want to get them on the phone. That should be your main method of follow-up. Texting's good, but it can really get you caught sometimes. Texting with a customer, you get a chatty Cathy on there, and they're just talking your ear off about anything but buying a car. It's not a good time for anybody, because our guys are busy. They want to get to the next customer while also providing a good experience for that customer at hand. But a phone call is worth much more than a text and email. As far as contact goes, in my opinion, that's how you set most of your appointments, most of your solid appointments. You know, those phone ups are the best. I mean, those people, they're going to show 70% or more of the time. every time. And that's your highest chance of close, in my opinion, 100%.
What I've seen over the times, and the phone has kind of come and gone, if you will. For a while, the phone was the only way. And then we started getting bombarded with no phone leads. People got away from the phones. And then the phone started coming back again. It seems that people weren't getting the answers they wanted via email, and they were back interested in getting on the phones. Are you seeing, what type of mix are you seeing as far as incoming leads that have phone numbers, that don't have phone numbers? Have any trends changed in the last 9-10 months that you noticed?
For me, myself, incoming leads, I'd probably say, maybe 70% of our leads come with a phone number. And
wow, that's strong.
yeah, it's pretty solid. At least definitely from the stores that we've currently been using right now. I'm seeing a lot of phone numbers. Sometimes they don't put a phone number just because maybe they're not quite ready to take it to that next step, and they just want a little bit of an e-brochure thrown their way, a little more information about the vehicle. But the best thing, realistically, most of those people, I would say, end up giving us a phone number just because they see that we really want to help. And, especially now, time is very important to everybody. A 1 or 2 minute phone call you can get done in 1 or 2 minutes, whereas you're looking at emails. Half the time these CRMs sometimes don't even notify you because they have so much inbound coming in.
Right.
Sometimes you don't get a notification, something goes overlooked. Just get them on the phone, 1-2 minutes, everything will be done, handled, and you get to set that appointment.
That amazes me because when I was, now this is a number of years ago, when I was on the front line, so to speak, it was the opposite. Maybe we got 30% with phone numbers. So it's nice to see that the phone numbers are back because that gives you a much better chance of closing. We got a couple of things coming in on the side. Chris Haas says, great info, gentlemen. The DRS team knows what's up. Ty Thompson says, nice. And Robert Sebastian says, hi, guys. Dealership personnel often don't like word tracks, so they think they don't use them. But they do. The ones that created and don't work. Yeah, no, word tracks, if properly executed, do work. Right? Too many people are trying to reinvent the wheel, but it's properly executed. That's where the key is. If you overuse certain things, then it seems canned to the customer. They're almost conditioned to it. They see it as not sincere. So yeah, no, good point. And Terry says, great show, guys. Excellent information. Thank you, Terry. Thank you. Now, are you in communication constantly with management, with the owner? How do you keep all the pieces together? Because obviously, if you're dealing with the customers, that's a full-time job in itself. But communicating the information, what needs to happen, or what's happening well, or what needs to be tweaked, that needs to be communicated to management continually, so that you're in the game while you're making the plays, right? There's no Monday morning quarterback the following week. So how do you execute that?
I would have to say, we probably speak to the GM, GSM on a daily basis, 3 to 5, 6 times a day. Service directors or managers or somebody in their departments 5 to 6 times a day, because you'd be surprised at how many calls are important that aren't getting addressed. No matter how many, if I put a customer in the system and the dealership don't get back to them, and it's, we got to contact the dealership manager and say, listen, the customer called the second time. We now got to get on the phone with management and say, someone needs to reach out to this person. They have some questions they need to get addressed. That is what the GMs and dealership wants. They want to be able to oversee their management team to see who is participating, who is helping out on a daily basis. And, or we'll do like a group text or a group chat, and the GM will say, did anybody get to this customer yet? It's keeping everybody accountable. When you got everybody all on the same page and everybody's accountable, that's when the results and the efforts drive all the way home and the sales are there. And that's what makes this all worth it. It's all about the return on investment for a dealer. That's our reward. We're going to get paid anyway, but at the end of the day, when we look back on the ROI for those 30 days and we could show, hey, we did this, we did this, and we did this, bravo to the team, bravo to the store. That's why we don't have any contracts with our clients. You know, I've always been told, oh, you should have somebody sign a contract. They're guaranteed the money. At the end of the day, if I do a good enough job, they take my invoice the next month. I'm still rocking and rolling.
Now, the group text is excellent because that way everybody that needs to be informed is informed, and it's happening in real time.
So let me add something else to that. So we also, I've never seen outsourced BDC be as accountable as us. On a daily basis, we keep track of appointments that didn't show up. We will contact the sales manager with the GSM to find out, hey, did this person come in? Did they buy? What's going on? Because they don't always do a good job updating their CRM. And I've never seen that happen. I've walked into dealerships before as a trainer and as a BDC director, and dealerships that have used other outsourced BDC companies, and all they do is they make that appointment. They don't even confirm it, nor do they follow up to find out what's going on. They don't care. They're getting paid for that appointment, and they're done. We just take it to a whole other level. I've never seen anything like it before. We care about what we do.
So that's a key point, the follow-up, right? So now on the follow-up, I see a lot of stores, they don't do much in the way of follow-up, or they'll do one follow-up, that's it. They'll do a confirmation by email, and that's it. But if that goes into spam, customer never got it. There's a good chance that customer is not going to show up. So how often so if somebody's coming in for a service appointment, how often, when do you start your follow-up or confirmation on that one?
Usually the day before. We'll call and then we'll follow up. We'll do an email. We can do a text. We'll leave a message, of course. If we get them on the phone, we confirm the appointment right there and then.
Now, do you handle the missed appointments as well?
We do. And that's the serious accountability I'm talking about. The missed appointments is when we really dig in. We'll run a campaign to see if we can get them back in. We'll reach out to management to find out if these people actually did come in and weren't logged. Whatever we can do, maybe we can get some kind of incentive we can push over to those customers to actually get them to come in the next time around. That's what I'm talking about, accountability. We work it to the very bone.
One of the things that we do well, Paul, with is we now are helping the service departments get to the 3rd and 4 RO line. We want to make sure that the customer pay is coming through the roof. And the only way to do that, let's just let the secret out of the bag, is you go after people that got 3 years and 65,000 more without a warranty. And when you schedule them during the right time, which anytime during the week between 1 and 6 is the slow spot of a dealership, guess what? We're filling those holes. We don't want to book everybody out on Saturday and in the mornings because let's just talk about it. The service directors, service writers, they don't have any time to upsell anybody from 7 to 10, 7 to 12. Right, Paul?
Yeah, exactly. If you have too many people coming in the morning, that's just mayhem. All you're going to have is people unhappy that they're not getting in and out fast enough. You're going to have people unhappy on the phone. There's no need for it when you've got a full day where you can book that job and the work over.
Paul, can I tell you, some of our service directors are screaming uncle because there's like saying, listen, we're going to have to gray out some times in our X time because you're giving us too much work. And, we're getting cars that we haven't had to look at for 2 or 3 days. So, well, listen, I want them to scream uncle. I get the GMs calling me up. I don't care what they say. When they scream uncle, give them more. I understand what they want, but at the end of the day, our goal is to fill their slow time, and that's between 1 and 5 o'clock.
Christine says, I literally brought a car 18 hours later at a competitor brand when the sales reps didn't get back to me. I believe that 100%, Christine, because I mystery shop with regularity, and it's amazing. There's a percentage that don't respond at all, and there's a percentage that tell you flat out they don't want the business. It's mind-boggling, but yeah, that definitely happens. And it is a need for speed with the internet. you got to be one of the first people, if not the first person, to have a hope of developing the relationship with them to get them in the door.
That's why Mike and Stan are with my company. They're very good at teaching and training our specialists. You know something, I got to tell you, I told this to a GM that I spoke to the other day. The people on my staff, you know, it's like, how do you reward your sales department or staff? You give them time off or you give them money, right, Paul?
That's that.
They love that. If I have a specialist that calls out sick one day, would you believe they're willing to work on a weekend to make that day up? Who wants to work and make up their time, make up their day? That's how invested these people are in their career. That's, you know, that's how it is in our sandbox. They want to play. They want to come in. They want to stay. You know, they're fighting. They don't even want to go home if they don't feel well, but you have to. But at the end of the day, they want to make up their time that they're missing. Any salesman, any manager, any person, I'm not coming in today. You got to come in on your next day off. They don't even want to hear that.
Right,
I don't
right.
have to present that. My team is telling me, hey, can I come in on my next day off so I can make up my hours? Absolutely. Love to have you.
Christine says failure to follow up on an email or a call is risking a lost sale, especially when an end of potential tells you that they are looking to buy. Yep. People coming in today, they are looking to buy. They just need to be handed gently over to the area where they need to sign. It's not rocket science, but too many places make it really complicated by not responding or generic response.
So let me add to that. I'm glad that you brought that comment up. One of the things that I'm very big on is technology selling. We have digital retailing tools on our websites, and I don't know about other outsourced BDC companies, of ours in particular is actually trained on how to use that. We can actually have an intelligent conversation with the customer when we're talking to them on the phone, whether it be a phone up, whether it be an internet lead. They're looking to get numbers. Rather than running back and forth, we can literally open up the tool on their website, and depending on how they're set up, we can actually get them a ballpark range of, you know, what numbers they'll be at to try to get some kind of commitment out of them for an appointment. If it has to go further than that, then we get management for the dealership involved to follow up with them and put that deal together, because it's a lot more of it is more than just, hey, when can you come in? I mean, obviously we want to make appointments, but we certainly want to serve up the customer the right way to the dealership. And so that was one of the first things when I came to the company was I asked the question, are we doing this or why not? And then we got on the phone with some of the GMs and said, hey, is it okay if we work it that way? Because I'm finding that we're losing a lot of opportunity by not being able to talk to customers this way. I said, sure, no problems. And it's worked ever since.
Yeah, no, that's key, because in the past, it's always been, when can you come in? When can you come in? Well, no, I can't come in. I don't want to come in. So you're walking people through the tool on the website while you're on the phone with them.
Yep.
We send them the link once it's done to confirm that's the car that they're looking for. Absolutely. The other thing that we do, Paul, which is really good, is when we're following up with somebody that we know that's been in the dealership, we're asking them what would it take to make the deal. We work in the deal as a manager, giving the dealership the second opportunity to close the deal. Well, the store said we were 3,000 away. Okay, Mr. Esposito, how much of the 3,000 can you come up with if we could put this deal together? We'll only have $750. Let me speak to management. Let's see what we can do. Were you trading something in? I can see you had a car. Yes, we were. I'll get the manager on the phone and say, hey, Paul, customer came up with another 700. I don't know how bad you're looking for a deal, but they're willing to work with you. Can we have this person come back in to do another test drive? Because if everybody knows, you got to get that guy back in that car if you want to bump him more than 700. He's got to have that car smell. He's got to feel the rubber hit the road, and he's got to be into that buying and not just a number situation. And if you get him excited all over again, he will bump up again. But that's what we do. We go the extra mile. You know, it's funny. I heard an owner of an auto group tell me, he goes, Tommy, you know, you guys go the extra mile an awful lot. He goes, how much traffic do you ever see when you go in the extra mile? Zero, because nobody's doing it. That's what makes us different.
Christine says, I actually came in, then followed up with email a few hours after my test drive visit to see best price. I was ready to buy. And Lou Ramirez says, what's up, car guy? Lou, I'm enjoying some car guy coffee this evening. So don't forget to put the link in there, Lou. It's got some good stuff. But yeah, no, so it's not that difficult a business. We just tend to make it more complicated than it is. But it sounds like you guys are doing some good things, and you're covering the front of the store as well as the back of the store. And the phone is just key, right? If you spend a lot of time on the phone, you tend to get good at it because there's only so many scenarios that play out. There might be thousands and thousands of people, but in reality, there's only so many scenarios that play out. I don't know if there's a specific number that comes to play, but I know when I was on the floor, there was generally only about a handful of scenarios. And if you can articulate their concerns well and address them, then you have a very good shot at making that deal. Let's see. Lou says, heck yeah, get you some. And he put the link in. These guys, I don't know if you follow them on LinkedIn or on Facebook, Car Guy Coffee. You guys follow them at all?
Not at the time.
I'll send you the link. They're pretty good guys.
Absolutely.
Love,
Yours a friend of mine.
That's it. No, these guys are cool. I had Subprime Hero on the show a few weeks back. Interesting guy. I actually saw him on another show. I liked what he had to say and reached out to him, and we've become friends. So are there any other tips that you'd like to share with the audience as we're winding down our hour show?
Stan?
So other tips, I would say increase your follow-up, increase your accountability. The things that we do talking, with managers a couple times a day to hold them accountable. These are things that we don't get to do when we actually work in a store. I can't tell you how many times working in dealerships, we would get complaint calls and then we give it to management and nobody did anything. But it's funny how being a third-party company, when we have those problems, we actually get these things resolved. So I would say increase your accountability, increase your communications. When it comes to recruiting and training, I would say that have a set process to recruit people and interview them, and then train them on sales. Excuse me. Don't just train them on sales, but train them on how the dealership works. Train them on the fact that the leads come in from a BDC. Train them on the understanding how the customers are shopping. They're not just walking in. Train them on how to market themselves and build this as a business for themselves. There's just so much that needs to be done. And I think we as a company are able to offer that to the dealership community between being able to recruit, train people, build a department, or completely outsource it to us. We can go any which way.
I'm glad that you said the complaints piece of it, because I find that you're a complaint. That's the best tool you could ever have, because you could take a customer that's unhappy and you can turn that into not only a happy customer, but one of your best customers that becomes one of your best ambassadors, right? We have one of our businesses is a yarn business, and my wife, she got a call from this lady in Canada that she bought this kit, and she was not happy. And the call could have gone one of two ways, right? The easiest way for the call to go would be, listen, I didn't write the pattern, so go pound sand. Other people are buying it. That's one way it could have gone, but it didn't. So my wife says, listen, I didn't write the pattern, but this is one of our more popular patterns that we sell. On top of that, we make everything ourselves in-house, and we put notes if we see that there's a better way to do it before we sell it. So I'm sorry that you're having a bad time with this pattern, but let me see if I can help. So my wife made copies of the pattern. She put notes, circles, arrows, do this, do that. She sent that to the lady. She then followed up with her to make sure that she understood what all the notes were. The lady was so happy that she sent, I think she bought another 4 of those kits for other family members and friends. She was that happy. So the piece about training them about all the pieces, yes, very important. But one part that they don't train people on is complaint resolution, right? And how to turn a negative into 5 positives, because those are some of your best opportunities. You can't pay enough money to get those kind of learning opportunities. You can't learn that in school. So if you can develop that at the store level, you're way ahead of the game. Christine says, spot on the phones, Paul. Michael Larkin says, fantastic show, gentlemen. Awesome processes, superior BDC training and follow-up. Michael Dean Alfmuth, yes, complaints or objections are opportunities. And Lou Ramirez says, so true, Stan. There has to be emphasis on sharpening each other on all sides to truly be set up for success. Keep upshifting and uplifting solutionaries. So I want to thank you guys for being on the show. This was awesome. I want to thank the audience. If you saw value in today's show, please share it among your automotive community. There's always a little nugget that you pick up. And if you can help somebody else with that nugget that'll help their store, then we are all better off for it. And Christine says, hashtag good service. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Paul.
having us, Paul. We're very grateful.
I am grateful for you, man. We'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live.
Take care.